Good morning. Well, we're in the lovely market town of Wimborne, Minster today in Dorset. So we're going to have a walk around and see if we can see some of the historic buildings in the town and other points of interest. So let's go and see what we can see. We start our walk in the town square. It's a lovely open area with tables and chairs for al fresco dining, surrounded by imposing Georgian and Victorian buildings. Wimborne's been known for its religious significance since a nunnery was established here in about 705 AD by Cuthberger, sister of the King of Wessex. We'll come back to Cuthberger later in the walk. Before then, we'll leave the square and walk up the High Street. The building that we can see across the road now is 1777, the Albion. This dates from the 17th century, when it was the oldest of 4 coaching inns in the town, of which only 2 remain. Now, it has 10 very nicely furnished ensuite bedrooms and a 4.5 star rating on TripAdvisor. Just along the street, we see the Museum of East Dorset. This building used to be an ironmonger's business. In 1953, Hilda Coles inherited the business on the death of her father. In 1960, Hilda took the decision to close the shop and fulfil her father's long-held wish to turn the building, known as the Priest's House, into a museum. The museum opened in July 1962. Hilda ran the museum herself for 25 years with a team of volunteers and support from the local community. When Hilda died in 1987, the house and garden were left to the governors of Wimborne Minster, a local charitable trust. The museum became the Museum of East Dorset in 2020, and today it houses about 35,000 exhibits, a wealth of social and local history materials dating from the 1700s right through to the 2000s. As we turn off of the High Street, we can see the imposing view of St Cuthberger's Church. The Church of St Cuthberger is also known as Wimborne Minster. The town is also officially known as Wimborne Minster. The town took its name from the church. We'll have a look inside the church later on. I've also made a longer video of the church, and there should be a link at the top of the screen now, and there's also a link in the text if you're interested in seeing that. We're back in the town square now, and we'll continue walking straight across and up West Borough. This is one of the original main roads in and out of Wimborne, and there are some imposing Georgian buildings on both sides of the road. Far along the road, we can see a theatre on the other side. This is the Tivoli Theatre, a charming Art Deco venue built in 1936. This closed in 1980, but after a lengthy campaign it was reopened in 1993. Today, it's run by dedicated volunteers, and it maintains the tradition of showing films and live shows. A little further up West Borough, We'll come to a red brick house which was formerly owned by Isaac Gulliver, who you've probably never heard of. In fact, Isaac Gulliver was one of the most successful smugglers of the 18th century. At his peak, he controlled smuggling from Lymington in Hampshire all along the coast through Dorset to Torbay in Devon. At this time, England had been at war with France, and taxes on luxury goods were very high. Smugglers could make a lot of money from illicitly importing textiles, brandy, wine, tea and other products that could be sold on the black market. The American Revolutionary War started in 1775, and men were required to join the Navy. In 1782, King George III offered pardons to smugglers who volunteered for the Navy, or provided 2 substitutes. Isaac Gulliver took advantage of this and became a legitimate businessman and banker. He died a very wealthy man in 1822. We'll jump back to the town square now and walk up towards St Cuthberger's Church, or Wimborne Minster as it's more commonly known. In 705 AD, Cuthberger, sister of the King of Wessex, founded a nunnery where the church now stands. This grew into a huge influential monastery for both monks and nuns. In 1013 the monastery was savaged in a Danish raid and the nunnery was destroyed. The main church, however, survived. It was later rebuilt by the Normans with later additions through the centuries. We'll have a look inside to see some of the main treasures, but as I said earlier, there's a more in-depth walk around the church in a separate video, with a link in the text below. Inside the church, we can see the tomb of John Beaufort, the Duke of Somerset and his wife Margaret. They were the grandparents of Henry Tudor, who became Henry VII after his army won the Battle of Bosworth in 1485 and King Richard III was killed. We can also see a brass plaque commemorating King Ethelred, King of Wessex and older brother of Alfred the Great. Ethelred was buried in this church in 871 AD, but the exact location of his tomb is unknown. Wimborne Minster has a chained library. Founded in 1686, this is the second biggest chained library in the country, with rare books provided by 2 donors in the 17th century. Another very interesting treasure in the church is this astronomical clock, which is considered to be one of the oldest working clocks in Europe. It was probably made in the early 14th century. The position of the sun shows the hour. The Earth is in the centre, as of course, when this clock was made, people believed that the sun revolved around the Earth. To see more, click on the link in the text to view the longer video about the church. We'll leave the church now and resume our walk along the High Street. This is Church House, where all of the administration of the parish is carried out. Just around the corner, we arrive at the end of the High Street. We're turning right here to walk back past the back of the church. Before we arrive at the church, we'll pass the Methodist church on the other side of the road, a much more modern building which was opened in 1967. Here we are now at the back of the church. Here's another view of the church. Hello, what's going on? As I'm sure you've guessed, Wimborne has a model town, which is quite close to the church. This was opened in 1952, and it's a replica of the centre of Wimborne, as it was in the 1950s. Walking through the model town is a step back in time. This is the town square, with almost all of the buildings still much the same as today. Now we're walking up the high street that we walked along at the beginning of this video. Some of the names of the businesses have now been forgotten, but a lot of people will still remember many of the names above the shops. Some are still trading today. No charity shops, Chinese takeaways or vape shops. Not so many hairdressers, and definitely not so many cafes and restaurants. More pubs though, and more butchers, bakers and greengrocers, almost all of which are gone now as we all shop in large supermarkets. There's a model of the model town here too. There's also a model of the model town. Not quite sure why that's necessary, but it's here anyway. We'll leave the model town now and make our way back towards the town square. Here's the White Hart pub come out in front of us. You might recognise it from the model town. It's rumoured that there's a tunnel from the church to the White Hart. I'd love to believe that's true, but I have my doubts. In this walk, we've only covered the centre of Wimborne. There's more to see in other parts of the town, as well as the two rivers that run past the town, the River Allen and the beautiful River Stour. We're coming to the end of our walk now as we approach the town square where we started the walk. I hope you found this walk around Wimborne interesting and that it inspires you to visit the town for yourself. Or if you live in this beautiful part in the world, that you think about the history that's unfolding here over the centuries next time you're walking along these streets. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave a comment and consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos from the Country Traveller.